After Chapter 2, Part 1. Zoe followed Munchkin out the window. Once outside, Munchkin rummaged underneath a nearby bush. He pulled out a sack. He had clearly been busy. Food, clothes, he said. Zoe frowned at him. We'll pay them back when we can, he said. Come on quickly before they notice you've gone. He held out some clothes to Zoe. She'd found her old clothes at the foot of her bed, but now she quickly stripped them off and slid into the dress Munchkin had got for her. She looked down at herself. Couldn't you have found something a bit more practical, she said. I didn't have much choice, he said. Anyway, you look nice. He grinned sheepishly. Well, it's a warm day, said Zoe. Come on then. Now they were outside, Zoe could see Hope clearly. The hospital she'd been in wasn't really a hospital. It was a large old house, its original owner presumably gone, long gone. The rest of Hope was just bits and pieces, a few real houses, but lots of temporary buildings, sheds and shacks. There, away to the right, was the sea. It was a beautiful sight. The sun was shining, the waters were calm. It looked so perfect, so friendly. Zoe found it hard to believe it had been her enemy for so long. It had nearly killed her. This way, said Munchkin. That track. He pointed. Zoe saw a rough path heading away up the coast. So how far is it to New Home? Munchkin looked a little embarrassed. I don't know, he said. They were getting suspicious, he added defensively. Doesn't really matter, I suppose. They began to walk, leaving the small shanty town Hope behind them. As they went, Munchkin told Zoe all he'd found out. Things were better than Munchkin had ever dreamed possible. It may not exactly be Golgonooza, but it's not bad, he said. People are trying to make things work, working together. There's no one exactly in charge, but there's no fighting. They just do what needs doing. Things must be better here, agreed Zoe. Just having a hospital, even if it's not a proper one. It's the only one around. If your parents had landed anywhere along the coast for 40 miles north or south, your mum would have ended up in that hospital, just like you did. There's nowhere else. Then Munchkin realised what he was saying and stopped, but Zoe hadn't noticed. 40 miles, she asked. How much is 40 miles? That's so big. It's unbelievable, Munchkin agreed. The island was just a speck of mud, the difference. Look at all this land. It goes on forever. Zoe looked inland. Munchkin was right. There was lots of lovely dry land, as far as the eye could see. But not just that, Munchkin went on. Life's better here. People doing things right, you know. We can't even be that far from Eels Island. We weren't at sea for long enough. Suddenly Munchkin looked worried. What's wrong, Zoe asked. Do you think, if it's not that far, supposing Doobie survives, supposing he got here? Before her eyes, Zoe saw Munchkin start to shrink back, become the frightened mouse she had first met. He won't. Even if he made it out of that scrap, he'd never find us. But the thought was enough to make them both quiet for a long time. For the rest of that day, they walked along the rough track that followed the coast, always in earshot of the sea. They saw no one. For Zoe and Munchkin, it was like a different world. To be able to walk in one direction all day without walking into the sea was a new and strange experience. And with every corner they rounded, their amazement grew. There was no end to it, just rolling hills stretching to meet the blue sky at the horizon. Zoe started to love the land. Still they walked, and still they saw no one. I suppose most people have moved as far inland as they can get, she said. That's what I was thinking, said Munchkin. Why is Hope there at all? It must be dangerous there, and if the sea keeps on rising... I know, I suppose there's the fishing though. It's getting dark, said Munchkin. We'd better find somewhere to sleep. I thought we might get there today. It didn't sound far. The thought of spending a night in the open made Zoe feel nervous, in spite of all she'd been through. But Munchkin didn't seem bothered. We'll find somewhere, a bit of shelter in case it rains. It's not going to be too cold anyway. Dusk was falling fast, and by the time they found an old barn to sleep in, night had come. There was enough light from the stars to find their way in, but once inside they could see nothing. They huddled together inside the doorway and slept. Zoe woke before Munchkin. Bad dreams had gnawed at her all night. She wanted to forget them as quickly as possible, but she sat, still popped up next to Munchkin while he kept on sleeping. Gingerly, she shifted a leg that had gone numb. She felt blood begin to bring it back to life. Zoe's thoughts drifted, but her mind was still as numb as her leg had been. She felt neither fear nor hope, neither pain nor love. She felt empty, that was all. But she felt Munchkin's breathing beside her, and she knew she was alive at least. Finally, Munchkin stirred. Zoe quickly moved away. "Don't," said Munchkin. "How long have you been awake?" Zoe demanded. Munchkin grinned. Zoe turned round, and then she screamed. "Ah, oh, Munchkin, look!" she yelled wildly. She turned back to Munchkin and pointed behind her to the far side of the barn. "What? Oh, God, is he dead?" Zoe didn't say anything. The answer was obvious. The old man's body had clearly been shut away in a forgotten barn for a very long time. "Come on, let's go."